And so as we continue to flow with the rhythm of the music and the energy that is already established in this room, we continue to have our outer eyes open so our inner eye may reveal itself in a deeper and a more profound, energetic way. For when we pray, we are speaking to our Creator, to God. And when we meditate, we are in the practice of trust. It is the largest muscle within our spiritual essence of trusting. And just as we are trusting that the chair is holding us up, we are trusting that life is holding us up, and we are exactly where we are supposed to be in this moment. This is the place where God, our angels, our guides, nudge and speak to us. And as we continue to trust and activate the muscle within ourselves, our heart has a space to open to what we do not know yet. As you're allowing yourself in the space of simply being, take a few moments to tell your heart what you recognize as your place of gratitude. We give thanks and gratitude for what we see in our lives. And we recognize grace for those things that we do not see yet. And in this place of calm and a trusting consciousness, we open the way for the right of way, that who we are right now and this divine moment may reveal itself. So may we have greater life, the infinity of spirit flowing through us, health and well-being, joy beyond measure. and miracles so often and so normal. It is our way of true living. And so we give thanks for this time, knowing it is so. And so it is. Amen.
Take a nice breath of that. If you need to make a little yummy noise, that's okay. Slowly we bring the lights back up. Bring our awareness back to this room. But stay in your heart space. Don't go to the head. Stay in your heart space. As we invite Temple up. Let's give her a welcome.
Love you. Let's thank Leah for her leadership. It's amazing. Sound team and Blake and the band, they're just so great. Let's give them a great big hand. So there's a woman headed down Augusta Road. She's quite in a hurry because she wanted to make it to yoga class on time. So she's going through as many green lights as she can, and all of a sudden she's coming up on a yellow, and the guy in front of her, she thought, well, surely he's just going to go right through. Well, he slams on brakes and stops there and waits for the light to turn red, and she's going, can you believe it? He could have made it. So she proceeds to do sign language out her window, landing on her horn, making all this noise. Well, by this time, she had some attention from a police officer. So he pulled her over and said, ma'am, I need to see your license. And, okay, officer. And then he says, ma'am, I think you're going to have to come down to the station with me. And she said, well, okay. So she goes down to the station. And then a couple hours later, he says, okay, ma'am, it's okay for you to go now. She said, well, that's fine, officer, but I've never really figured out what it is that I did. He said, well, you got to look at it from my point of view. He said, I look behind you and I see your car, and on the bumper sticker you have, we are one, global world peace. We are all connected. Honk if you love Jesus. And he said, ma'am, I just thought your car was stolen. I think that's the value of coming into spiritual community, because it allows us a space to come and co-create about the very nature of our lives so that we can become more congruent with what we say and how we are in our beingness. I think that we come, as Meister Eckhart says, that we come to a place that more and more things start leaving us that no longer fit where we're headed. Do you agree with that? Do you relate to that? It's very important. I know for me, the other part of that is my life was stolen for many, many years. I allowed my life to be stolen for many years because I came from deep-rooted Southern Baptist religiosity. I had heard since I was just so little that I was wrong, that I was unworthy, that I would never amount to anything, and God bless. You know, my grandmother Lois, when I was 13 and a half, she already knew I had started drinking. She already knew I was exploring being gay. She said, "Honey, I'm so sorry. I'm not going to see you in heaven." And I'm thinking to myself, well, yeah, that's a big deal. But I also thought, I haven't even gotten my permit yet to drive a car. You know, I mean, heaven is not exactly on my mind at this particular time. But in that space, I allowed my life to be stolen because the life that I thought inside, I was not able to see on the outside yet. And then I was invited to Unity. And Unity not only showed me a way of life, it showed me my life. And Unity, this Unity of Greenville that used to be on House Street, is the very reason that I tell everyone that I am alive today. So thank you for that. How do you say that? How do you say that, right? And then the other part of that would be that I met then at Unity several people, but one of my friends that I've never honored publicly, I met her, Judy Reardon. And Judy Reardon said to me, "Oh, let's go do yoga together, let's become friends." And on down the road, she would say to me, "You know, the Temple, I think you got a problem with alcohol." And I said to her, "I don't think you understand what that means. I don't think you're correct." But Judy never changed her story because I was the one that needed to change mine. So 29 years of sobriety now. On my birthday, I called Judy. Judy, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Don't ever hold back to the truth as you know it. For someone somewhere will not only hear you, it will reveal them in a greater capacity. When I first started speaking at 33, one of my favorite quotes was Victor Hugo, that there's one thing stronger than all the armies of the world, and that's an idea whose time has come. And I used to think about that, about how energetically we're all that idea. We bring an original concept of what God looks like to people that we know and to this planet. And that's one of our quests, is to see that unravel and unfold. But the other thing that I think about now, especially with so much news and social media and beeps on your phone letting you know all the activities that are going on, being a very small window of the world, but we are bombarded with images all the time of armies of the world, of a supposedly army in the world that in many ways sometimes has the appearance of being against us, yes? And so often, when we forget that one major company owns the major 6 newspaper networks and news networks, we get caught up in that. Do you ever do that? You get caught up in that story, and before you know it, you're having hors d'oeuvres and snacks and cookies with people talking about the world. It's just crazy. It's just so crazy. And hello, we have to stop ourselves and have an awakening because we want to realize that we are affirming that into the world. The world isn't crazy because the world that's shown on a screen is not the planet, the world. It's small windows. Amen. Wanda Herman's going, amen, sister, amen. But that's the obvious army, or the people in outfits, and they are the people that represent their countries and their society. All of us served in my family, my brother's serving now in Korea. That's the obvious army. But we have other armies that we want to pay attention to today that are right around us. The first army would be that our children, our grandchildren, can go in just about any clinic in the United States and complain with the least ache and ooh and get a prescription that will create a level of numbing out that they'll forget their middle name. Amen? They'll forget their lives because they are given that prescription. Let's numb out. My friends, more than ever before, this is not a time for numbing. This is a time for becoming awake and becoming alive. Yes? And so that's the part, not to see it as gloom and doom, but to hold the space that will change. That people will wake up to that. The other army that we have is we have people that will stand in pulpits and shout at people and scream at them and tell them all in the name of their God that they are wrong, that they are unworthy, and that they are sinners. Do you realize how many years of therapy it takes to move past that? I'll tell you, 20. Okay, they give medals for people like us. Longest time in therapy. So, I survived myself. What about that? But that's the part that needs to change. The other part of the armies in our society today are our educators. Our educators need to become current with their lesson plans. They need to use applicable things that are actually interesting to the millennials. The millennials don't want to hear theory. They don't want to hear, we are one and we're connected in kumbaya. That's not enough for them. They want you to tell them, how are we one? What did you do today? What child did you look at in the eyes and say, you are beautiful? Which person did you feed on your street? That is the part of the world that we want to exceed in our daily reality now. Do you agree? Yes. Okay, good, because I still have a few more minutes. Good. So, the armies, what are they? And what uniform do we have that we face them? We have a uniform called the Unity Principles. Regardless of country, creed, anything, sexuality, color, Unity Principle rules. It rocks. It is awesome because our principles, when proven and tested, work time and time and time again. We have the uniform of being a courageous individual that's willing to speak the truth, like my friend Judy. How do you thank somebody for saving your life? Because they were the one person that would stand up to you and say, girl, you almost crazy. I mean, is that love or what? That's love. What is the uniform now that you are wearing in the street with your family? With your consciousness, what do you allow people to see in your bravery and your courage of who you are? Because that is the messenger. That's the messenger of hope, is the messenger of God, and is the messenger of truth. I think about candles. I love candles. I have them all over. But I think about the fact that, it's the candle that gets the credit. Oh, that's such a pretty candle. Oh, I just love that candle. But the candle isn't doing anything but hanging out. You know who's doing all the work? The wick. Thank you. Did you take my class? No. Okay. Way to go, Mike. No, it's the wick. It's the wick that does the work. God is the all-knowing, yet you and I, the Christ consciousness, the I am, we are the wick. We are that light unto the world, and that's how we are that, because we are allowing the God essence to flow, to burn, to live, to move through us. Yes? Our bodies are the candle, but our heart is the wick. It's so time in our society that our hearts are awakened to the truth of what is possible, to what energetically is possible. Often people say, wow, I want to take some classes. I want to learn from Reverend James. I want to, take different things from Joel Osteen, or I want to learn, or I want to read at home, or I want to know what's inside of me so I can go out and change the world. And that's a great idea, to be the change. But we also, at the same time, we need to realize how the world is changing us. Because if we're still using the same ideas and quoting the same things without allowing the world to change us, so we become bigger. And I'm talking energetically speaking. We don't want to confuse the universe. Lord, don't make us any bigger. No, please. But an energy of bigness. That is why often we walk through certain things in our lives. I wouldn't take one piece of my past out. And that's what people fail to realize often. They think they go through hardship and heartache and challenge, so they become less than. When the truth is, it's so we become more than we ever realized, because by ourselves, we wouldn't have put ourselves through spiritual boot camp unless we had to walk through something very significant. Yes? And so it's that part. I love what you said, Leah. So I've been using this serenity prayer, and see if this will offer some thoughts to some of you. God, grant me the serenity to accept the people I cannot change. All right? Grant me the serenity to accept the people I cannot change, the courage to change the one I can, and the wisdom to know that would be me. I think we could practice it together, right? Will you hold it for me too? Let's do it together. God, grant me the serenity to accept the people I cannot change, the courage to change the one I can, and the wisdom to know that is me. Yes. Good job, everyone. Good job. A young man was all excited because he had learned how to fish. He had found a river. He was really looking forward to it. He goes down to the bank, and as he's getting all set up, he notices this older guy a little ways down, and he's catching a fish, and it's sizable. It's a beautiful fish, and he throws it back in. And then the guy catches another fish, and then he throws it back in. And he goes, wow, I don't understand. I mean, what is that about? I mean, usually it's the small fish you throw back in. It's not the big fish. And so he goes down and he says, sir, I don't want to interrupt your space, but I'm just curious. I notice you keep catching these big fish, and you look at them, and he says, you kind of look at them that way, and then you throw them back in. And he goes, I'm confused. Is there some kind of regulation here that you can only catch such a size of fish? Or, is there something I don't know about? Or the big fish, are they just bad? They don't taste good. And the man said, oh, no, son. Says, I've catched this fish. And he said, and I have to measure it with my arm like so, because if it won't fit in my pan, I got to throw it back in because it won't fit in my frying pan. Well, often we need to get a bigger pan. We need a bigger consciousness. Maybe pray up more. Maybe pray more for what is possible as we affirm what can be true for our lives. Maybe see the world, remind ourselves and remind others that this little bit that we see on YouTube and different windows in the news is not our whole world. Look at all of you, amazing, incredible people. As I've been traveling all week to the Carolinas, it is beautiful here. And great people, and wonderful people. And it's not seen that way often in the projections of what our world is. We are the difference makers because we're willing to be different. If we wrote down positive affirmations. The world is beautiful. People are kind. I love myself just as I am. I am wonderful. I am beautiful. I am handsome, whatever it is. And we take it into Lucy's office and we all wait in line to duplicate the very thing we've written down. What do you think that photocopy machine is going to do? Yeah, interactive. It's okay. It's going to copy, right? It's going to copy as many copies as you tell it to. But if another day you write, oh, I'm unworthy. Oh, I can't do it. Oh, I'm never going to get my dream. I'm never going to meet Mr. Right. Only Mr. Right now, but not Mr. Right. It's not going to happen. I'm going to be by myself. That kind of thing. And you take that to the photocopy machine. Is that photo machine going to blow up in smoke and say, are you kidding me? Are you the same person that was in here last week? No, it's not, is it? It's going to duplicate just what you put in there right now. We are powerful beyond what we even know. But in that inner awareness, we want to be immensely powerful of what we say and what we declare, because we don't necessarily get a self-correct, right? Take a lot of white out to clean that up, that's for sure, right? So what is that in that space? And what is it for you? What do you say about yourself? Or what do you still hold on to that someone said about you? My 6th grade teacher told my parents I was never going to amount to anything because I talked too much. More often than not, the things that we hold on to are untruths. Reverend Carlos Anderson tells a story of his roommate Jennifer when he was in ministerial school. And he said Jennifer had multiple personality disorders, and in that she was all these different characters. And he said, but the Jennifer most of the time had extreme rheumatoid arthritis. You'll love this, Rob, as a healer. And she would be so turned in that she couldn't really hold anything with her hands, and she couldn't let her arm out all the way. And this was Jennifer, kind of moving through life as Jennifer. And they were at the doctor's office one day, waiting on the doctor to see her. And he said that all of a sudden he looked over at her, and she stood up, and she said, "Hi, I am Sarah. And I am a dancer. Would you dance with me?" And he said it always depended upon the host. The host that was within her. Think about in your life, what is your host? What are you allowing to host through you? Is it the exhilaration about what is possible? Is it the miracles that sound so wonderful you're making them up? Is it the possibilities of prosperity with that being on your mind today of the theme for here at the church? Prosperity is simply knowing who you are. All these different ways of teaching abundance, at the end of the day, it means one thing: knowing who you are. When you're clear, congruent of knowing who you are, when the bumper stickers on your car are the same as the bumper stickers on your bank account, you have more than you can ever spend, because that is the abundant life. Jesus said, I came that you may have life and you may have it abundantly. In other words, the work has already been done. I think prosperity, the bottom line is people are just determined they need to make it hard. It is easy to manifest if we allow ourselves to trust the process. So in closing, there was a woman watching her little girl. Cell phones were just coming out. And back then we had to watch our minutes and all that stuff. And so this little girl, she's just talking away on her mom's cell phone. Yeah, I can play. I'll be over there this afternoon. Okay, and then what we're going to do? Just going on and on and on. And her mom says, oh my gosh, I got to get that phone away from her. She's going to run up my minutes. So she goes over and takes the phone from the little girl. It's not even connected. It's not even on. She's just playing the part. Friends, I played the part for a long time. I just played a part. I was a walking dead person just going through the motions. I was playing along as the chameleon of who are you? Well, that's who I am. Well, what do you accept? Are you comfortable with? That's what I'll be. I was just playing the part. but not really deepening that connection of who I am, God's grace and God's eternal glory, of what is magic and what is real. Don't play the part. There's only one for you to play, and that's the original you. It's an honor for me to be with you today. Thank you for having me. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Now is it on? As our ushers get ready, just for a moment, don't let yourself get back up in that head space. Stay in that heart space. And Rumi shares beautiful words with us. The morning breeze has secrets to tell you. Don't go back to sleep. You must ask for what you want. Don't go back to sleep. People travel across the threshold where these two worlds meet. The door is wide and open. Don't go back to sleep. Take a breath of that. So being in that heart space, hearing these words that Temple has shared with us this morning, we're in an awareness, and we don't want to go back to sleep to that. So stay in your heart space as you go out and you greet your world this week. And remember to stay awake. Stay awake to the possibilities. Stay awake to the people that show up in your life. Stay awake. Don't go back to sleep.